Jammer's Wrestling Magazine Collection YouTube channel, as you all know, because you're probably watching this video right now, and therefore you must have subscribed to my channel. So here we go, a little video today, and this one is actually going out to a buddy of mine, Zeke Zanzibar, because he's a big video game guy. I found something in here that he will appreciate. Not that, that's pretty good too. This, right here. Electronic Gaming Monthly was, from what I understand,
remember that?
Like the aftermags of video games. It wasn't Nintendo Power. Nintendo Power is like the WWF magazines.
I remember that. Beside collecting the wrestler magazines back then, I remember it was EGM, Game Players, Game Pro, and Game Informer. Yeah, I had them all. Only one I didn't mess with really. It was Nintendo Power. That's Nintendo.
This would be the alternative.
I had Nintendo
to Nintendo Power, and this had, you know, Genesis and everything in it. It looks like it's pretty cool that it's actually being advertised in this magazine of the WWF magazine from December '92 with good old HB on the cover there. Now, got something else to show you then as well. And this, going through this, it's the Wrestler, January 1990. But look at that. They sell Nintendo games in here. I mean, very cool. I remember looking at the magazines and seeing these in there when I was a kid.
Double Dragon and Kung Fu.
And not too long ago, too, because I was looking through them and I kind of remember, I was like, oh yeah, these are in here. But look at that. That is so cool. Super Mario 2 there. You know, and then looks like there's more games here written that you can pay for and get. So with that being said, I thought let's do a little fun video here. I'm going to show off some of the video games I have that are wrestling related. We got that one right there. That was the first wrestling game I ever got was WrestleMania.
I remember that. That one was cool. That was so sad.
Unfortunately, I sold all my Nintendo games. Like when I was, I think, 18 or 19, I sold them all because, you know, I remember I got a PlayStation and I thought, I'm never going to play these old games again, these cartridge games. This is ridiculous. And now, you know, how many years later?
You regret
25 years later or so, it's like, oh, wait, no, I like these better. And, of course, I don't play.
Yeah, and I remember had them too, the Nintendo. Probably had Nintendo 2 or 3 times. Family members got the things from the garage sale. I would have had, if I hadn't got rid of none of that stuff, I probably would have had over 200 games. It was a garage sale. Got some from there, then some from somewhere else. And it was crazy, because back in the early 90s, you found Nintendo and Atari just lined up, and they were selling them for probably like the garage sale, $15-$20 then. Oh, what's that? Nintendo? How much is that? $10. And it had probably like 10 games with it. $15, you know. Had 10 games, 12 games. Yeah. So I remember that. I remember this game called boxing game. Not Mike Tyson Punch Out. I think it was after that or before. I can't remember. Rain King and some others. And then TNC Surf. I think that was like the surfing version of Skater Die. And then Skater Died. And Skater Died 2. Ninja Gaiden and all that kind of stuff. That WrestleMania there was so WrestleMania Challenge was way better.
These, but I do have them on USB drives to play through my PlayStation Mini, which is kind of neat. The next game I got when I was a youngster was that one. WrestleMania Steel Cage. That was a fun one. I really liked that game. That one was cool.
I remember, I used to use Bret Hart and Randy Savage a lot in that one.
Pretty simple: punch, kick, do a body slam, do a backbreaker, punch, kick, climb the cage, win the match. Right. This one is neat. The only Nintendo game that was out for WCW.
Had that too.
Got the Road Warriors on the cover there.
I remember that.
Now there is.
I remember. You cut the game on. The guy would say, "World Championship Wrestling." I remember that. Never could unlock the hidden wrestler though. That was getting frustrating. And I know about. I don't know if you went outside the ring. Somebody threw a wrench in the out of the crowd and hit you in the head. Know about that? I remember that. That was I was like when it was just being transferred from NWA to WCW. I remember the Road Wars with the black shoulder spikes. They weren't even wearing the red spikes then. So that was the red spikes in WWF. Yeah, I remember that though. They had I gotta think about it. They had a lot of wrestling games for Nintendo. I remember that.
A video or something online I saw. It looked like a prototype to the WCW game because I want to say the Midnight Express were in it. I swear that Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan were in it, and there was someone else too. There was a few other wrestlers who didn't make the cut, and then eventually this came out, and I remember we got a lot of weird names in there, like guys like, why is Michael Hayes in here, you know, or Eddie Gilbert was one of the names too. And nothing
Michael
against
Hayes,
Eddie Gilbert,
the
Michael
Freebirds.
Hayes. I just felt like I was like, really? They made the cut over Bobby and Stan? That seems weird, right? So another one I got when I was a kid as well was this fun game, Tecmo World Wrestling.
Oh, I wanted that game bad.
You could change the names around of the characters.
I never could find that one. Remember, some kid at school had it. That was probably one of the best ones. The Tecmo Wrestling, just like the kids like the Tecmo Bowl. I like the Tecmo basketball. My cousin had it, and I turned around and got it. Yeah, those Tecmo games were hell.
Which is always entertaining to do, especially as you got older, and you could make them have dirty names or ridiculous, stupid names, and it was just real funny stuff there. A game I played a lot as a kid too, but I never owned. I borrowed off a classmate all the time.
There you go.
Was this WrestleMania Challenge?
That was a better one. Yep.
The only thing I didn't like about this was how the video, if anyone's ever played this game, remember the ring is kind of like diagonal, like a diamond shape instead of looking at it like straight on in a square. I didn't care for that, but this game does have Brutus Beefcake in it. So you can't go wrong with that. You know, I love Brutus, so it was always fun to use Brother Brudai in the
Every time I got him to sleep,
I recently got this about a year ago, King of the Ring. I never owned it, never played it until I got to play it through, downloading and such, and playing it like that. It's a lot like WrestleMania Showcase. I don't really like it though. I feel like this was also an era where this game wasn't needed because you had other games coming out, right? Like you had this. The Sega Genesis Royal Rumble game. I mean,
I remember that.
King of the Ring.
That was weird. He's probably got. We probably had all the same wrestling games, and it was weird. Like the Royal Rumble version for Sega, it had Hulk Hogan. The Super Nintendo version didn't have Hulk Hogan. The Sega version of WrestleMania, Super WrestleMania, had the Ultimate Warrior. The Sega version, the Super Nintendo version didn't have him, and they had British Bulldog, and I think who else did they have in there? They had Papa Shango, and I don't know if it was WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. I think it was Royal Rumble. No, it might be WrestleMania. Yeah, it's WrestleMania. So that was one thing. If you didn't get the certain game for the certain system, they wouldn't have certain people in it. Like I remember Street Fighter for Sega had the arcade style sound and everything. The Super Nintendo one didn't have that, so they did certain things to make them different. Like even with the NBA Jam, the first NBA Jam for Sega was like arcade. The Super Nintendo version was different, so I remember all that. Let's see.
It didn't need to be on Nintendo, I don't think. And Super Nintendo was out at the time too. At that time, so like, why did they still make Nintendo cartridges?
And that's the other
right?
thing with Sega.
Anyways,
with Sega Genesis. One thing I did like about the Sega, they had actual cases for the games. Like that, like the cases looked great. It looked like that because that's what DVD cases looked like. On DVD cases, it looked exactly like a DVD case. Super Nintendo had the little cardboard, but I guess the cartridges were bigger too. They had but yeah, that's one thing I liked about the Sega. They had those nice boxes, cases.
Royal Rumble though, very cool one. I remember this came out on Super Nintendo as well, but some of the characters were different. Like Hulk Hogan wasn't in the Super Nintendo one, but he's in the Sega Genesis one.
Yeah.
And there's other games too. You can get Monday Night Raw, which was for Sega and Super Nintendo, and so was I want to say was it I think it was a WrestleMania one too.
Yeah, that was horrible.
WrestleMania Challenge, maybe something like that. I forget. All I know
Super
is that,
WrestleMania.
I remember the British Bulldog was in the Sega one, and so was like Papa Shango and such.
Yep.
But yeah,
Quang was in one of them too.
Probably collect more of these games. Especially the Sega ones. I only got one. Like, I should get Raw. I really should. I played that with a buddy of mine named Jer, like, way too many times back in high school. We played the shit out of that game. We used to rent it from a local video store from a town nearby called Thamesville, and we would play Raw like for days straight until I had to go back. But yeah, so I thought I'd do a little video here on the video games of wrestling that I own. It was kind of cool to see them in the wrestling magazines as well. Again, the magazine is, this is the Wrestler, January 90, and of course, December 92, the WWF magazine with Sean on the cover. It's just neat to see that.
I know about Hogan
hyping such, so many video games.
How about Hogan looking like he's dressed like Hollywood Hogan in 1990? How about that? That's something.
Back here in the wrestling magazines. It's almost like wrestling and video games went hand in hand, at least for the fans of both, right? All right, thank you for watching this short little video. It was just something fun to do today, just because I came across that in the magazine when browsing, and so I thought I would share it with all of you. All right, until I do my next one, I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, that was something. I remember, I think it was Christmas. I got Monday Night Raw, the Raw game, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and two other. I can't remember what else it was. But I remember sneaking that game early, swapping out some old game I got sick of, and sneaking the new game out. I'll never forget that. Yeah, I got my ass tore if I got caught. But that was something, boy. Yeah, but that's what I liked back in the day when they had more than one wrestling game. Like I remember even with PlayStation 3, they had like 3 or 4 different wrestling games. It wasn't just WWF or WWE. A bunch of different stuff, and the wrestling magazines had a subscription to everything, waiting for the stuff to get in the mail. And I remember back then, because the rain and the stuff, they had the wrestling magazines, and they had the video game magazines and sealed in those plastic bags so they wouldn't get rain. And I was like, that was perfect with it. I don't know if they have magazines. They don't have it. Everything's online now, but back then, you'd be happy as hell though that stuff showed up. You was.